There's a simple truth that most people miss when they're drowning in stress, pain, or overwhelming circumstances, and it's this: your life is controlled not by what happens to you, but by what you focus on. In any moment of hardship, your brain is making a decision about what to zoom in on. And the problem is we're wired for survival, not happiness. That means your mind's default setting is to search for what's wrong, what's missing, what's dangerous, what could go wrong next. That's the lens most people are living through day after day without even realizing it. But here's the thing: what you focus on, you feel. And what you feel consistently, you live. So if you're always focused on what's broken, what you've lost, who hurt you, or how unfair life is, then guess what? Your nervous system will follow that focus, and it will create the emotions of fear, sadness, resentment, even hopelessness. It becomes your emotional home. You might not even like it there, but you know it. It becomes familiar. And the more you focus on the negative, the more your mind filters the world to prove that you're right. You'll notice more things going wrong. You'll notice more people letting you down. You'll feel more powerless, more stuck. It's a cycle. But here's where your power begins: the moment you decide to interrupt that pattern, the moment you become conscious of your focus and choose to direct it somewhere empowering. I'm not talking about denying your reality. I'm not saying pretend everything's okay when it's not. That's not strength. That's suppression. What I'm talking about is reclaiming your focus from the chaos. When life gets hard, most people focus on what they can't control. They obsess over outcomes. They replay mistakes. They forecast disaster. But the shift happens when you deliberately focus on what you can control. And more importantly, what you still have. It can start with something incredibly simple: your breath. The fact that your heart is still beating, that you made it through yesterday and here you are. These may seem small, but they're not. They're proof. Proof that you're still here. And where there is life, there is possibility. When you shift your focus from what's missing to what's present, even if it's just one small thing, you begin to change your internal state. Your body relaxes. Your mind opens. You begin to feel gratitude. And gratitude is the single most immediate emotional shift you can create. Why? Because fear and gratitude cannot live in the same space. Anxiety and gratitude cannot coexist. If you're truly focused on what you appreciate, even the smallest thing, you disconnect from the story of suffering. And when you change what you focus on consistently, you change your life. Think about it. Two people can go through the exact same situation and have completely different experiences. One sees it as a curse, the other sees it as a test. One focuses on what's been taken from them, the other focuses on what it's forcing them to become. Same event, different focus, completely different life outcome. The difference isn't luck. The difference is focus. Your mind is like a camera lens, and wherever you point it, that's what gets magnified. If you're constantly magnifying your limitations, you'll live like you're trapped. But if you start magnifying your strength, your creativity, your resilience, even in the face of adversity, you'll start to experience more of those qualities in your life. This is a discipline, not a one-time trick. It's a daily decision. Every morning when you wake up, your mind will try to drag you back into the narrative of what's wrong. Don't let it. Choose your focus before the world chooses it for you. Ask yourself, what's one thing I can be grateful for right now? What's one thing I can learn from this pain? What's one small step I can take today? Those questions guide your focus. And when you guide your focus, you take back your emotional power. The most successful people, the most fulfilled people, the most resilient people you'll ever meet, they aren't the ones who had perfect lives. They're the ones who mastered the art of shifting their focus from limitation to possibility, from fear to faith, from loss to meaning. And even in your darkest hour, that's available to you, because focus is a choice. Every single time, when life throws you to your knees, most people look for the nearest excuse to stay down. It's easier. It's familiar. When the pressure is on, when things don't go as planned, the natural human tendency is to lower expectations, to adapt downward, to start accepting less. Not just from the world, but from ourselves. That's where people lose the fight, not in the pain, but in the lowering of their standards. Your standards are the invisible boundaries of your life. They shape what you're willing to tolerate, how you show up every day, and what you expect not just from others, but from yourself. And here's the truth: you don't get what you want. You get what your standards demand. You get what you're willing to hold yourself to, even when it's inconvenient, even when it hurts, even when no one is watching, especially then. The problem is most people don't even realize they've lowered their standards until their life starts falling apart. They stop doing the little things that matter. They hit snooze instead of showing up. They say, just this once, until it becomes a habit. They let their emotions dictate their discipline. And slowly, silently, they begin to adapt to a smaller version of themselves. Not because they're weak, but because their standards slipped. It doesn't happen all at once. It's gradual. You start tolerating lateness, then disorganization, then missed deadlines. You stop speaking up for yourself. You settle for relationships that don't nurture you, jobs that drain you, and patterns that keep you stuck. And with every lowered standard, you give away a piece of your power, not because you had no choice, but because you made excuses. Excuses are seductive. They justify staying the same. They help you protect your ego. They give you something to blame when your life doesn't match your dreams. And let's be honest, they always sound reasonable. It's not the right time. I'm too tired. I'm too busy. It's just who I am. But the cost of those excuses is your potential. Every excuse you allow becomes a limitation you live within. Now, here's the shift when life gets hard. That is not your signal to settle. It is your call to rise, to raise your standards, not your list of reasons why you can't. Because when your back is against the wall, that's when your real identity is revealed. That's where growth lives. That's where transformation happens. Not when it's easy, but when it's necessary. You need to get brutally honest with yourself. Ask, what am I no longer willing to tolerate? What patterns have I let slide? Where have I made peace with mediocrity? The answers won't always be comfortable, but discomfort is the birthplace of change. Raising your standards isn't about being perfect. It's about refusing to accept less than what you're capable of. It's not about comparing yourself to others. It's about comparing yourself to who you were yesterday. If yesterday you let fear win, today you raise the standard and face it. If yesterday you broke a promise to yourself, today you raise the standard and follow through. That's where real self-respect is born, not from what you say, but from what you do consistently. The powerful thing about standards is that they work in both directions. Raise them and you rise. Lower them and you fall. And the moment you decide to raise your standards, you force your mind, your body, your habits, and even your environment to align with the new level. You stop accepting excuses. You stop seeking comfort. You start demanding more from every area of your life, not because the world owes you more, but because you owe it to yourself to stop living beneath your own potential. Think about someone you admire, someone who's created extraordinary results in their life. They didn't get there by accident. They raised their standards and kept them there. They demanded more of themselves even when no one else did. They showed up over and over, not because they always felt like it, but because they made a decision, a commitment, that this is who I am now. This is what I expect from myself, no matter what. And that's the shift. You don't raise your standards once and call it done. You do it every day, in your words, in your habits, in your thoughts, in your relationships. You raise them when it's hard. You raise them when no one's cheering. You raise them because the future version of you is watching, waiting for you to stop settling and start rising. There's a kind of suffering that doesn't come from pain itself, but from the belief that we should have been able to prevent it. That somehow, if we just said something different, made the perfect decision, reacted fast enough, or been strong enough, everything would have turned out the way we wanted. This is where so many people live, not just in pain, but in blame. Blaming themselves, blaming others, blaming the world for what they couldn't control. And it's exhausting. It steals your energy. It clouds your clarity. It disconnects you from your strength. The truth is, life will always contain things outside your control. That's not weakness. That's reality. You cannot control the weather. You cannot control what other people say, think, or do. You can't control time, aging, the past, or the future. You can't control whether a door opens or closes, whether someone loves you or leaves you, or whether a storm hits when you least expect it. But you can control how you respond. You can control what you give meaning to. You can control what you do with what life gives you. And that is more powerful than it sounds. Most people suffer more from their reaction to life than from life itself. It's not just the breakup, it's the story they keep repeating about it. It's not just the failure, it's the shame they carry long after the lesson has passed. The power comes when you stop arguing with reality and start reclaiming your power inside it. Because the moment you try to control what you can't, you lose all control of what you can. Think about it. When you try to control another person's choices, you lose control of your own peace. When you try to control an outcome that's out of your hands, you lose control of your ability to be present. When you obsess over what already happened, you disconnect from the actions you can take now. Suffering comes when you grip so tightly to the illusion of control that you become blind to your actual influence. Letting go isn't giving up. It's not weakness. It's the strength to surrender what was never yours in the first place. It's the wisdom to say, this is not mine to carry, but this is. And then fully owning what is. You may not control the chaos, but you control your focus. You control your breath. You control your breath. You control your words, your posture, your routines, your choices, and your attitude. That's the difference between someone who stays stuck and someone who grows. One keeps trying to fix the uncontrollable. The other invests all their energy in what's within their reach. And when you do that, when you stop wasting energy fighting the storm and start building your shelter, you begin to regain your power. Because you're no longer waiting for things to be perfect to feel peace. You're no longer waiting for the world to behave a certain way before you decide to show up as your best self. You create your own ground no matter how unstable the outside world may seem. There's freedom in that. There's clarity. There's progress. You don't need the whole path laid out. You don't need certainty about tomorrow. You just need to take the next right step, fully present with what you do have. That might be your discipline, your mindset, your sense of gratitude, or just the decision not to break today, even if everything inside you says it would be easier to give in. And some days, that's what control looks like. Not having everything figured out, but choosing not to give your power away to fear or resentment. Choosing not to let circumstances define your worth. Choosing to respond with strength, even if the situation doesn't change right away. Because the way you respond is always within reach. That's your territory. That's where your freedom lives. It's not glamorous. It doesn't always feel heroic. Sometimes controlling what you can means simply getting up and making your bed, drinking water when you'd rather lie down and give up, turning off your phone when comparison is stealing your joy, speaking truth when silence would be easier, forgiving, not for them, but for your own healing. These choices are small, but they're powerful because they keep you aligned with your highest self, even when nothing outside you supports that alignment. There is nothing passive about letting go. It's one of the most courageous things you can do. To accept that you can't control the world and yet still meet it with love. To face uncertainty and still move forward. To watch plans fall apart and still decide to build again. That is power. That is control in its purest form. Your mind is the most powerful force you possess, and yet, for most people, it becomes their biggest enemy. Not because it's broken, but because it's been neglected. You wouldn't expect your body to stay strong if you never exercised or nourished it, and the mind is no different. It requires daily input, daily care, and daily discipline. Without that, it will naturally default to fear, worry, doubt, and limitation. Not because you're weak, but because the mind untrained is like a garden left untended. What grows are weeds. In today's world, you're constantly being bombarded with input. Social media, news headlines, opinions, distractions, negativity. It's a nonstop flood. And if you're not intentional about what you feed your mind, the world will feed it for you. And the world doesn't always feed you strength. It doesn't always feed you hope. Most of the time, it feeds you fear. It feeds you conflict. It feeds you comparison. It feeds you reasons to play small, to give up, or to believe that you ought enough. That's why feeding your mind daily is not just a habit. It's a necessity. This is not about being positive all the time. It's about preparing your mind for life's battles before you're in the middle of them. Because when life hits hard, and it will, you won't rise to the level of your hopes. You'll fall to the level of your habits. And if your habit is to let your mind wander without direction, to allow negative narratives to run wild, then you'll find yourself reacting instead of responding, surviving instead of leading, breaking instead of building. Feeding your mind is about creating a foundation of strength that can hold you up when everything else seems shaky. It's reading something that challenges your thinking. It's listening to something that uplifts you. It's surrounding yourself with voices that remind you of your greatness when you've forgotten. It's asking yourself better questions. What can I learn today? How can I grow? Who do I want to become through this experience? These inputs shape the lens through which you see the world. And the lens you use determines the life you experience. Some people wait until they're falling apart to start feeding their mind. They wait until they're anxious or overwhelmed or stuck in a rut. But by then, the weeds have taken over. The most powerful shift happens when you do the work before you think you need it. When you train your mind in seasons of peace so it knows how to fight in seasons of chaos. That's how you stay ready. That's how you stay grounded. Imagine waking up every day and intentionally choosing the emotional state you want to live in. Choosing what thoughts you'll allow to grow. Choosing what beliefs you'll reinforce. That's not just mindset work. That's identity work, because what you feed your mind with becomes what you believe. And what you believe shapes who you are. If you feed your mind with stories of failure, you start expecting failure. If you feed it with stories of resilience, you begin to see yourself as someone who overcomes. That's not magic. That's neuroplasticity. That's the brain doing what it's designed to do. Repeating and reinforcing what you expose it to most. But just like your body doesn't get fit from one workout, your mind doesn't transform from one motivational video or one inspiring book. It's daily. It's consistent. You don't wait to feel motivated. You build systems so that even on the days you don't feel like showing up, you still do. Even 10 minutes a day of intentional input can radically shift your emotional baseline over time. It's not about volume. It's about consistency. It's about deciding that your mindset is not a luxury. It's your foundation. You also have to be aware of the mental junk food. Just like physical junk food looks appealing but leaves you depleted, mental junk food does the same. Mindless scrolling, drama-toxic conversations, the constant need for validation. These things might offer temporary distraction, but they take a toll on your clarity and confidence. Feeding your mind daily means choosing what to say no to as much as what to say yes to. It's guarding your focus, protecting your peace, being ruthless about what gets your attention, because attention is currency. And whatever gets your attention gets your energy. If you're constantly feeding your mind with fear, your body will live in stress. If you're constantly feeding it with doubt, your decisions will shrink. But if you start feeding it with possibility, with gratitude, with resilience, with purpose, your life will begin to reflect that. Slowly at first, then powerfully, you are not what has happened to you. You are what you repeatedly tell yourself in response to what's happened. That inner dialogue, that inner script, it can limit you or it can liberate you. And the only way to change that script is to feed your mind something stronger, something higher, something more aligned with the future you want to create than the past you're trying to survive. Most people live as if their emotions just happen to them. As if happiness, motivation, confidence, or calm are things you stumble upon by chance. They wait to feel good before they take action. They wait to feel strong before they stand tall. But the truth is, it doesn't work that way. Emotions don't only create movement. Movement creates emotions. The way you move, the way you breathe, the way you hold your body, it all communicates something to your nervous system. Your physiology is not separate from your psychology. In fact, it is the fastest way to change it. You can't think your way out of a negative emotional state if your body is still stuck in it. You can't overcome fear while curled into yourself, shoulders slumped, breath shallow. That posture tells your brain you are not safe, and your brain listens. Just like you can't build confidence while standing still, avoiding eye contact, or speaking in a whisper. Your body becomes a mirror of your beliefs. And your beliefs become reinforced by how you use your body every single day. This is why motion is so powerful, because the moment you shift your body, you begin to shift your mind. When you stand up straight, breathe deeply, move with energy, your brain starts getting a different message. It begins to believe, even before the circumstances change, that you're capable, that you're ready, that you're not stuck, that something is different now. And in that shift, even if it's small, something inside you begins to unlock. Think about it. Have you ever had a day where you felt low, but then you pushed yourself to go for a run or dance or just take a walk in nature? By the time you were done moving, your entire emotional state was different. It's not coincidence. It's chemistry. Endorphins are released. Cortisol lowers. Blood starts flowing. Oxygen reaches your brain, and all of a sudden, things feel more possible. You didn't wait for a better emotion to find you. You created it by moving. This is one of the most underused tools of transformation because it's simple. Too simple for most people to take seriously. But what if the very thing you need to break out of fear, sadness, or doubt isn't in another book or podcast, but in your own body? What if the fastest way to change how you feel is to take one action that interrupts the pattern? Because that's what movement does. It breaks the emotional pattern. It disrupts the spiral of overthinking and replaces it with momentum. Your emotional state is never just mental, it's physical. And that means it's changeable in real time. If you start your morning dragging your feet, moving slowly, shoulders hunch, it's almost impossible to feel powerful. But if you start your day by putting energy into your body, stretching, jumping, breathing, shaking off the weight, you change the state you bring into the rest of the day. It's not about pretending everything is fine. It's about preparing yourself to meet whatever comes with strength instead of stress. And it's not just about big movements. It's about conscious motion. The way you walk into a room, the way you hold your head up, the tone and pace of your breath. These small physical choices stack up. They create emotional momentum. If you breathe like someone who is anxious, your body will respond with anxiety. If you breathe like someone who is grounded, even if you're afraid, your body begins to calm. It's not magic, it's physiology. When you're stuck emotionally, move physically. Even if it's just for a minute, even if you don't feel like it, especially if you don't feel like it, because that resistance is the gatekeeper. On the other side of it is energy, is clarity, is power. Your body doesn't need permission to feel good. It needs movement. It needs breath. It needs something to disrupt the inertia of passivity. Because if you sit still too long in a low emotional state, your mind will start to believe it's permanent. There's a reason the most successful people in any field often have strong physical rituals. They understand that mindset isn't just created in thought, it's rooted in movement. Whether it's priming exercises, breathing techniques, stretching, or training, they are using motion to command their state instead of being a victim of it. They are mastering their energy at the source, not waiting for motivation, but generating it. You don't need perfect conditions to change your state. You just need a willingness to move, even in the smallest way. Stand like someone who is certain. Walk like someone who has purpose. Move like someone who knows they belong here. Breathe like someone who is free. And in doing so, your body will send signals to your brain that it's safe to be strong. It's okay to be hopeful. It's time to rise instead of retreat. Life will challenge you. That's not a possibility. It's a promise. But what you do with that challenge, how you meet it, up life, how you rise through it, that's where your power lies. Staying positive when life gets tough isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about choosing to focus on what gives you strength, not what drains it. It's about refusing to settle for excuses and raising your standards even when it's uncomfortable. It's knowing the difference between what you can't control and what you absolutely can. And then mastering that territory with relentless clarity. It's feeding your mind with thoughts that build you, not break you. And it's using your body, your breath, your movement to shift your state before the world shifts it for you. You don't need perfect circumstances to live a powerful life. You need habits that anchor you, beliefs that uplift you, and motion that moves you forward. These aren't just tools for survival, they're tools for transformation. And you have them now. So when life gets tough, remember this, you are tougher, not because the world says so, but because you've trained yourself to be. You've chosen it. You've earned it. And every time you choose strength over fear, growth over comfort, action over avoidance, and meaning over victimhood, you become the kind of person who not only survives the storm, but learns how to walk through it with fire in your eyes and purpose in your heart.